Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we are back live in studio. You know, that was a great first segment. We talked about, obviously, managing real estate investment in the city of Houston, or actually anywhere. It's important to get that market down, important to find somebody really good like Mike that you can work with to be able to get that done. But, you know, we're going to transition now into continuing to buy real estate in Houston.
Yeah, and, you know, and Laura Kroon with Capital Title,
yes,
we reached out to Laura and said, look, who do you have that would be a great guest?
Who do you really want on the show?
Yeah,
Who would be
really
a great guest, a great individual.
And Recy's over here laughing, but that's true. We did. We did reach out, and they said, no, Recy Dunn. Welcome to the show, Recy.
Thank you very much.
Now, tell us, which area of town are you working?
I'm with the Keller Williams Realty Professional in the Spring Cypress area, Spring Tomball area.
Okay.
And we've been in the real estate business for a combined about 9 years.
About 9 years. And you work on a team, you and your wife, correct?
Work on a team called the Homes Done Right team. In fact, my wife's been in real estate for a lot longer than I, and she's been trying to get me into the real estate business, and I've been in sales for about 20 years. And so finally she twisted my arm, and about 2 years ago I joined her, and I decided that we needed to brand ourselves. And since obviously my last name is Dunn and hers, we call ourselves the Homes Done Right team.
Well, have you forgiven her have you forgiven her for getting you in the business?
Well, you know, just like most husband and wife when they first get together, we had to learn our roles.
Right.
And so that we could work together.
So you obviously became submissive very easily.
Right. That's true.
I learned a magic word. It's called yes, dear.
Yeah, that's true. I said, okay, honey, which way you want it done?
That's right. Done. And that was all pun intended.
You know, I love the last name is great. That you can, hey, guess what? Done deal.
Done deal.
mean, it's absolutely perfect.
That is true. That is true.
Well, let's talk about the spring market. What are you seeing out in the spring area?
Well, in the spring market is, especially in the last year and a half, it's been really booming, and especially because we've been getting multiple offers on properties, wherein before, less than a couple of years ago, you know, the house would just sit on the market, and now if you can't sell it within 30 days or sooner, the market has really expanded, not just in the Spring area or the Cypress area, but we're seeing that all over Houston because we just don't concentrate just in the Spring area. We had a client had 3 horses, and she was looking for a piece of property where she could have her horses as well as her home. So we went all the way to Pearland, and we found the property.
Oh, wow.
And just recently, we had a client, a doctor from Dallas, and wanted at least a half acre. Their price point was $500,000. We had a very difficult time finding a half acre piece of property at the price point of $500,000. Now, a couple of years ago, we could have found that in Bender's Landing. We could have found that in several properties off of 2920, but the market has really changed, especially with Exxon moving in.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's a good point right there. Obviously, ExxonMobil is building a big, brand new campus off.
And
of
they're
45.
talking about it being in Woodlands, but it's not. It's really in Spring.
That is correct. Right before the Woodlands. But what's happening is you know, when you're building 12 office buildings and you're bringing in, I don't know, 25,000, plus employees.
But
or
some of them already live in Houston.
That is correct.
A lot of them do.
You know, you have to expand. You know, that market really gets expanded out, right? So it goes all the way into Champions. It goes all the way over to Kingwood. It goes all the way up to Conroe. It goes all the way down, to the lower area of Spring right there. So it really becomes a very wide cast net. And that's just one company, and that's just one aspect of the real estate side.
And you may correct me, Recy, on this, is that even though somebody might be working out there in that Exxon campus, I do see a certain segment, and it's usually the younger group, they don't want to live out in the burbs. They want to live close in. And we had this conversation last week that, they want things they can walk to and things like that. So you're really getting people who are going to be working out in that area, but you know what, they're going to get a hold of you and they go, Recy, I want to come in to close in. Have you experienced that yet?
Oh, yes, we have experienced that quite a bit, especially just to give you a good point, my son recently transferred a position here in Houston, and he lived in New York, and he wanted to move in the inner loop of Houston, and we've been looking for properties and trying to find him a home within the city limits of Houston. First he said Heights, and I said Ben. His name is Ben also, or really his name is Recy, but we call him Ben. I said, Ben, what's your price point? He said, $300,000. I said,
it'd be tough.
I said, not in the Heights.
Yeah.
I said, maybe I can buy you a lot.
Yeah.
Buy you a lot.
You know what? A lot that'd be about right if you could find a lot.
If you can find a lot. But getting back on what Mike was, especially since he's in the property business, we occasionally get clients that will call in through Keller Williams, what we call property room, and you take turns basically working the property desk. And we will get clients looking to lease homes. And when we ask them what their price point, it could go all the way up. I had a client go all the way up to $2,000. And I said, why do you want to lease a home and pay $2,000? And they said, well, I can't afford it. And I said, well, if you can afford to pay $2,000 a month, you can afford to buy a house. And basically what happens is some of them are credit challenged, but we hook them up with a credit repair company or a mortgage company, and about 6-7 months later, we convert them into a home. So I love people who want to lease homes.
And of course, I think a lot of people who get transferred in aren't sure where they want to live. They hear things and they talk to different people and they say, well, you need to be here. And so they're not sure. And the other thing is the down payment. A lot of people haven't gotten to the point, or maybe they have. I've seen this happen a lot when they're transferring in, but they have a house in another state whose market is not as brisk as ours, and it hasn't sold.
Well, that is true, but also we have there is some down payment assistance programs out there that depend upon how much the client actually makes, that they can get assistance from various different grants that is available to help them with the down payment.
And you did one for Danny Frank, our past chairman for HAR.
Right.
I actually attended that closing. That was the first time I realized that you didn't have to be in a specific area. That there was, if my memory serves, it was $202,000 for the I think the loan amount was.
Right.
And you had a down payment assistance on that thing of $10,000.
That's right.
That is correct.
And I believe she was a school teacher.
That is correct.
But it wasn't restricted to an area because she was buying out in the Kingwood area or Tascasita maybe.
Well, that's right. About a year ago, we had a client that got as much as $19,000 in down payment assistance.
I think that's a wonderful thing to do because homeowners make good citizens. Period.
Oh, I would agree. It's amazing because one of the things that we talk about all the time is there is money available out there. However, the one thing that most people, and they do a really good job, I'd say we have a lot of individuals who do this, is the bond programs are great, but they're a little bit more expensive programs. I mean, interest rate-wise, they're a little bit more expensive, takes a little bit more time. And in today's instant gratification market, people do not want to wait. I mean, a lot of times they sit there and go, I don't want to have to go through a program in which I have to qualify. Or, even USDA, for example, they don't want to have to go through a dual underwriting system. So I'm seeing people converting a lot of times. And so, I think when you have such a hot market, we'll end up seeing that the market, that the bond programs become less important. When we have a market that is more open, I guess, with a greater inventory, we see those come back in a lot stronger.
Yeah. Now, Recy, of course, we were talking about leasing management with Mike. Have you worked with investors to look for?
Oh, yes. In fact, we have a couple of properties that we're representing, and one of the things, we had one lady, a client that's in New York, who's purchased a piece of property in the Old Oak subdivision, and for various different reasons, she fell on hard times. And the house next door sold for $260,000 about 6 months ago. She owes $160 on that piece of property, but it needs some work. It needs about maybe $20,000 worth of work. We have received investments making bids on it as low as $98,000.
Oh my!
I mean, it's like they're trying to steal it. But that's the role of an investor. They want to get a good deal. But if you look at that neighborhood, the average home in that neighborhood is $250 on up. So you put $20,000, maybe $30,000 into fixing the house up.
I'm thinking I'll offer $98,000.
Right.
You take that.
But we lucky we held out, and we finally got an investor who saw the return and actually offered what the lady owes.
Oh, well, that's still a great bargain, though. If she owes $160 and it's a $250,000 neighborhood, I think you probably get investors to do that deal all day long.
All day long.
Especially if they're willing to do the rehab, and that's probably the big thing with investors. I don't know, and Mike, you might be able to comment on that. When you get investors, are they willing to come in and do rehab on the properties, or
always, because they figure they can get a better deal? Yeah.
That is true.
So I think,
and there's also financing associated with it. Most people don't realize there's a lot. We get back to individuals. There's a lot of individuals who want to buy in their respective markets, and they can actually get financing, rehab loans, in which they can actually purchase the property. They can get a rehab loan through Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae, one of the Home Styles or Home Steps, rehab products, and then they can actually go out there and make these improvements.
No, that could be for owner-occupied, though, correct?
Owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied. That is correct.
Well,
it is available for both, right? They do have an investment program as well.
That's true, because one of them is occupied and the other one is unoccupied.
That is correct.
So
main thing is down payment difference, 3% versus 10. It's the only thing. But be able to get an investment property at a 10% down payment, pretty interesting.
But most of the investors are making cash offers in that situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you're a true investor, like I said, the investors that are coming in buying those properties, a lot of times they're doing those in cash.
Well, Recy Dunn, we are kind of getting close to another break, believe it or not. We got to pay for the show somehow. We have to have those sponsors, and we love our sponsors.
Yes,
how do
we
people
do.
Tell us the name of your company again. Tell your name, the name of your company, and how we get a hold of you.
First of all, our broker is Keller Williams Realty Professionals, and the name of our team is called the Homes Done Right Team, because we do get it done right. And you can reach me at 832-541-7466.
And I think you should give a shout out to your wife, by the way.
Andrea, if you're listening, give me a call.
I don't think if. I think she is listening. That is Homes Done Right. Recy Dunn, who'll be back in for our last segment. But in the meantime...
Or next to the last segment.
Our last segment, he will come back in and speak to everybody. That is correct. But in the meantime, we have to take a break right now, or Mike, our producer, is going to start giving me the bad eye over there. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Implacable heart such as mine.